So just then, we got some surprising news to report on. I guess we all should have kind of saw this coming. We're going to be taking a look at some numbers, but as you know, you never really know until it actually happens. Now, all last year, several headlines, a whole bunch of people talking about Nike falling off, especially over here on YouTube. And that was due to Nike's decline in revenues, as well as shares for their stocks hitting an all-time record low. Now, with that being said, Nike, they responded to all the criticism. They brought in a new CEO, and Elliott Hill, a dude with a proven track record with the company. Of course, he made promises to turn things around for Nike, blah, blah, blah. You already know what else is a new CEO supposed to say anyways, right? So Nike, this year, we've seen some significant changes taking place, no discounts at all via Nike.com. We've also seen a more emphasis, a bigger, heavier push on their running catalog. And rather than relying on lifestyle models, which have been like smash hits for Nike and kind of played out, models like the Nike Dunk, Air Force One Low, they've kind of scaled back on those products and put a heavier push on the Air Max 95. So as far as those big changes, we'll kind of wait to see how things turn around as far as Nike's fortune. But things ain't all bad, over at Beaverton, Oregon. Of course, you got Jordan Brand, which has always been a bright light for the company. Jordan Brand continues to impress year after year. Actually, dating back since 2018, Jordan Brand has increased their revenue every single year, to which last year it hit an all-time record high, bringing in around $7 billion in sales. So definitely pretty impressive, for the brand, which was founded 40 years ago, representing Michael Jordan, the GOAT. You already know what time it is now. When it comes to Jordan Brand, one of the ways that they've continued to expand, making the company bigger is, of course, they've got more international audience. They've also expanded more into their women's catalog and ventured into other sports such as golf. So Jordan Brand, they continue to do big things, although they don't rely heavily on their performance models like they once did, in the basketball world when MJ was in his heyday, but more so into the lifestyle category. Jordan Retros have continued to get bigger and bigger, but at the same time, when it comes to the retro catalog, trends change. Let's say 5 years ago, everybody would say rocking Jordan Retros, but nowadays, some other models have kind of taken some of that lifestyle share. So what I'm going to actually get into is 3 different models, which you could pretty much see everybody rocking. I'm not talking about sneakerheads, right? Well, not us. We're just talking about the everyday casual person. Let's say if you walk into a mall, which you might see them rocking. So the first one, we got to go with the A6 Gel 1130. These joints are everywhere, and I think that kind of started with the Gel Kayano 14, and now have transitioned into the Gel 1130, which seems to be a lot more affordable. It's a budget-friendly model, and I feel like it's kind of a little more cute for the ladies or whatever. So, for example, let's say 5 years ago, every girl in the gym would be wearing a pair of Yeezy 350s, trying to be like Kim Kardashian. Well, them same chicks, they're still hitting the gym. Some of them haven't fallen off just yet, but nowadays you could definitely catch them rocking a pair of Gel 1130. So them joints are everywhere. You might even be able to call them joints the new Panda Dunks. They're literally everywhere. Now on top of that, you got New Balance, which I would say you could put probably 2 models here into it. I'm kind of cheating with this one, so I'm gonna go with the 1906R, or we'll go with the 9060. When it comes to the 1906R, that's a model which, let's say 5 years ago, you would see a dude rocking a pair of Jordan 1s. Well, nowadays he's graduated, he's gotten a little bit older. His feet have been hurting after rocking them uncomfortable Jordan 1s for years, and his feet are now thanking him for throwing them New Balance on feet. Plus, it's a little more competitive as far as the price point. The 1906R is cheaper for retail than a pair of Jordan 1s, and more so than likely you could probably catch a pair of them joints on sale. And did I mention how comfortable they are? You could slide in the 9060, which I feel like are just as popular. You pretty much see everybody rocking them nowadays. And then the last pair, you got to throw in the Adidas Samba, which I'm not going to get into the Samba. You guys already know what time it is. Them joints are super popular. Everybody's rocking them. So when it comes to the lifestyle category, like I mentioned 5 years ago, everybody might have been rocking a pair of Jordan Retros or a pair of Yeezys were probably the hottest thing in the lifestyle category. But now you got other models emerging into the scene, other brands taking some of that market share up. And as far as Jordan Brand, we're gonna go ahead and get into these numbers. All right, so I'm kind of confused right here. This really don't make sense to me, because according to this article, it reads the worst performing Nike segment was the Jordan Brand, where revenue fell 16% for the year to $7.3 billion, which is actually, this stems from Nike's recent earnings call. So can you imagine waking up just drinking your coffee, pulling up to work, and your boss is in your face talking about y'all only did 7.3 billion this year. Sales aren't good enough, because to me, 7.3 billion definitely sounds like they moved a lot of units. But I guess in the corporate structure, operating as a Fortune 500 company, they're only looking at it as dollars. And if you don't pretty much meet the goals, I guess if they have the expectations, they're looking at the year as a complete failure. So Jordan Brand did 7.3 billion, but they're saying that was a failure. So the article continues, the brand's revenue doubled between 2020 and 2024 as it expanded into more women's gear, non-basketball items, and international sales. The performance basketball sneaker market is down over the past decade, but the retro or lifestyle business more than made up for the decline. So apparently when it comes to Jordan Brand, the retros, as we know, have been carrying the brand. It seems like retro sales aren't down, but as far as other areas where Jordan Brand could expand, I would say most definitely in that performance model. Now this year, when it comes to retros, what we've learned is that people don't like pairs that sit on shelves. So Jordan Brand, they've been doing a great job as far as limiting the stock numbers to create more hype, drive the sales for these models. So that seems to be fine. And when it comes to Jordan retros, let's just keep it real. They're a part of the culture. The popularity isn't going anywhere, while other brands, have jumped into the mix to give Nike and Jordan Brand a little bit of competition. We all know people are still going to be going crazy for their Jordan retros every time they drop. Now, as we talk about brand ambassadors, this is where things get interesting, because we know Nike and Jordan Brand, they've continued to build the hype with dudes like Travis Scott. Now you have a dude like Nigel Sylvester entering into the mix, which he actually has a sports-driven BMX background, but it seems like they're still trying to push the whole lifestyle Jordan retro category, which I'm not mad at. Them Brick by Bricks were one of the more hype releases of the year. People went absolutely crazy for those, and resale prices have skyrocketed on top of that. But when we talk about the performance driven market, an area where maybe Jordan Brand could probably make up a little bit of lost momentum, we see Adidas doing it over with the Anthony Edwards 1 and Converse. While they're under the Nike umbrella, it looks like they're about to have a huge hit with the Shea 1s once those debut coming up here this fall. So in my opinion, Jordan Brand, an area where they could definitely improve on would be the performance model. Of course, for years, Jordan Brand was known for the signature models worn by Michael Jordan during his playing days, but after retirement, it seems like those performance models have taken a backseat for the retros, which now brings us here in 2025, where it seems like Jordan Brand, they're trying to get back to those roots with the Jordan 40, a model which does infuse a lot of past Jordan Brand signature elements. It seems like this one has a lot more of a minimalistic, I guess you could almost say more futuristic look, which kind of seems to be what's popping nowadays. Low key, these almost look like something that Adidas could have dropped, like, if we're being honest, but I would say these look good. They're not the greatest shoe, but as far as like what we've seen for signature Jordan models over the last decade or so, I think these definitely are nice. And it even seems like Jordan Brand has a lot more of an emphasis on that. So maybe Jordan Brand behind the scenes, they're trying to put a more emphasis on their performance-driven models, and I love it. The only problem is I feel like no matter how good the shoe looks, if there's not a dope signature athlete rocking them, they're not going to have a huge hit. Like, let's say, for example, Adidas and the Anthony Edwards 1. I really feel like the success of that wasn't just because the AE1 looks cool, but it's more so Anthony Edwards. People seem to really love his attitude, what he brings to the court. He's a beast. He's exciting. Plus, he's had a few deep playoff runs, so he's got a lot of respect. People would call him the face of the league, although he seems to not want that title. But let's be real, man. It's a combination of the looks and his play on the court, and just like the way fans gravitate towards him, which makes the Anthony Edwards 1 a success. I mentioned the Shea 1s, which that dude, he's looked at by the kids as somebody they can relate to. As far as like when it comes to fashion and everything, people seem to really rock with him. So I think that's a combination, as well as with his finals appearance and him taking home league MVP, which makes the Shea 1s a success. So when you take a look at Jordan Brand athletes, while they got dudes like Nigel Sylvester pushing the lifestyle models, as far as the basketball players on their roster, I mean, they got Luka, which he's an international talent. I feel like they're underutilizing his marketability. Maybe not so here in the States, but the whole worldwide factor. You got a dude like Jason Tatum, which he's made some deep playoff runs, but it just seems like he's not the guy that the kids are looking at as like having that kind of cool factor. So when it comes to Jordan Brand, who else they got? Trae Young. I mean, they really just don't have that it guy when it comes to the NBA. I would say they're probably most marketable and exciting athletes are more so on the Nike side. I would say Ja Morant is definitely one that the kids look up to. I'm sure his jersey sales are probably skyrocketing right now. Even with all the controversy and everything, you know, they say controversy sells, but probably the most popular Nike athlete right now would have to be Caitlin Clark on the women's side of things. So when it comes to Nike, they seem to have some influential figures. Of course, Converse, they got Shea, but for Jordan Brand, I just feel like when it comes to the basketball side, they really don't have that athlete, you know, to push Jordan Brand into the next level when it comes to a performance model. So although the 40s look nice, I feel like they would have to put them on the feet of somebody that's influential enough to, you know, get the kids out here to be out here buying performance basketball shoes. But we'll see how things goes when it comes to youth leagues. It seems like a lot of the kids are wearing like Anthony Edwards sneakers, Harden, and then you're probably going to see a lot of them Shea ones probably on feet as well. So we'll see what happens with the Jordan 40. But as we see here, $7 billion apparently wasn't good enough for Jordan Brand as far as their fiscal year results, and it seems like retros are doing just fine. You know, they continue to expand into other areas, into international markets, pushing women's sports, golf as well, and it seems like the only other area which is underutilized is more so on the performance side. So I think the 40s are a step into the right direction. It's just they got to have an ambassador to really push them. And as you take a look at the NBA draft, like look who was the #1 pick, Cooper Flag. He signed with New Balance, so that just kind of tells you right there. So we'll see what the future holds for Jordan Brand. But as far as that $7 billion, I'm not saying that's a failure, but according to the article, and I guess according to the bigwigs over at Jordan Brand, $7 billion just wasn't good enough. So let me know what y'all think. If you guys made it all the way through the end, let me know by dropping a salute. And if you enjoyed today's video, smash the like button. I'll catch you guys next time. Stay safe, stay blessed. I'm out. Love.